Lately, you might feel yourself drifting away from everyone, not out of anger, not out of sadness, but from a quiet, unexplainable shift within you. Conversations that once felt comforting now feel strangely hollow. The people you used to lean on no longer feel as close, and you can't force yourself to care the way you used to. At first, it feels unsettling, like something is wrong with you, like you're slipping into a version of yourself you don't recognize. But what if nothing is wrong at all? What if this distance you're feeling is not a collapse, but a recalibration? Carl Jung observed moments like this and understood them as invitations. Moments when the psyche begins withdrawing its energy from the external world because something within you is preparing to surface. He believed that before a major shift, the soul pulls you inward so you can hear what you've been too distracted to notice. This loss of interest isn't the end of anything. It is the beginning of a deeper alignment, a quiet calling toward a version of yourself you haven't yet met. And this withdrawal is how your psyche creates the space for it. Jung understood that when psychological energy begins to move inward, it is rarely gentle. It strips away your tolerance for superficiality, disrupts old emotional patterns, and breaks the rhythm you've been living in. He called this redirection of energy a natural movement of the psyche, a retreat not of avoidance, but of construction. When you start losing interest in others, it often means your inner world is demanding attention. The familiar mask you've worn in social settings begins to loosen, not because you're failing socially, but because the persona can no longer carry the truth of who you're becoming. Jung noticed that before a breakthrough, people enter what he described as a psychic dusk, a dimming of the outer world, so the inner world can be seen more clearly. This is where the shadow softens its edges and begins to rise, asking to be acknowledged. It's also where the creative void emerges, the strange emptiness that feels like nothing is happening, when in reality, everything is being rearranged beneath the surface. Losing interest is not disconnection, it is reorganization. Your psyche is rerouting its energy, preparing you for a chapter that requires clarity, authenticity, and a different kind of presence than the one you've lived in until now. This withdrawal you're feeling is not a disappearance, it's a redirection, a quiet rerouting of the energy that once flowed so easily toward other people. Jung understood that when the psyche senses an approaching shift, it begins pulling its psychic energy inward, almost like a tide drawing back before a massive wave returns. You may notice it in the smallest moments. Conversations that once felt alive now feel strangely shallow. The noise of others feels heavier than usual, and even the people you once adored seem to sit at a distance you can't quite bridge anymore. This isn't bitterness, and it isn't apathy. It's the psyche conserving energy for something it has not yet revealed. Small talk becomes exhausting because your inner world is asking for silence. Validation feels unnecessary because your value is no longer sourced from the outside. You feel less need to explain yourself, less desire to belong, because your energy is being reclaimed by something deeper. Jung believed that this kind of retreat is not a collapse of the self, it is the self reorganizing. When the psyche begins integrating new truths or working through unresolved inner tensions, it pulls your attention inward so you can hear what you've ignored for years. You might feel guilty for not showing up the way you used to, or confused when certain people no longer feel aligned with the person you are becoming, but this guilt is only the echo of an old self dissolving. Your system is entering what Jung described as a teleological shift, movement with purpose, with direction, even if you cannot see it. It's the chrysalis forming around your soul, closing you off not to isolate you, but to transform you. The withdrawal you feel is the preparation for a psychological metamorphosis. Your nervous system recalibrating, your emotions detaching from old narratives, your mind clearing space for a new way of being. You are not losing interest because you're breaking down. You are losing interest because your psyche is aligning you with the life that is waiting beyond the people, roles, and patterns that once defined you. This isn't an ending, it's the silent beginning of a deeper, truer chapter. And as this inner metamorphosis deepens, you begin to notice something else. The outer world no longer feels like it fits. The places, conversations, and roles that once felt natural now feel strangely hollow, as if you've stepped into a room you used to love, only to find that its walls echo differently. This is not you becoming indifferent. It is the subtle evidence that your old psychological patterns are collapsing. Jung understood that when the psyche is restructuring itself, the world built around your former identity starts slipping out of resonance. You look at people you once adored and feel a quiet distance, not rooted in judgment, but in an unspoken recognition that you're no longer standing on the same inner ground. The conversations that used to carry warmth now feel recycled, looping back to the same themes, the same dramas, the same predictable motions. It's not that others have changed, it's that your psyche has shifted its center of gravity. An archetypal movement begins beneath your awareness, something older, wiser, pulling your energy into a deeper chamber of yourself. And because this movement requires enormous psychic resources, the outer world begins to feel dimmer, less magnetic, almost muted. Jung believed that this fading resonance is a sign that the psyche is dismantling the old personality structure, the version of you shaped by external validation, obligation, and familiar survival patterns. As this structure dissolves, you feel yourself drifting away from the places and dynamics that once held you in place. But this drifting is not aimless, it is energy conservation. The psyche is saving strength for the inner transition it knows is coming. You outgrow cycles the same way a snake outgrows its skin, slowly, subtly, almost imperceptibly at first. What once felt comforting now feels constricting. What once felt like home now feels too small. And this emotional distance you're experiencing is not coldness, it's evolution. It's the quiet truth that you are no longer who you were when you built those connections. The world around your old self can no longer hold the person you are becoming. This isn't a loss. It's the unmistakable sign that you are crossing a psychological threshold, stepping into a new and deeper alignment with the life you're meant to live. As the outer world grows quieter for you, something else begins to rise from within. Your inner life starts speaking with a clarity you haven't heard in years, maybe ever. What once felt like silence now feels alive, almost luminous, filled with subtle impressions, intuitions, and gentle nudges that seem to come from a deeper layer of your being. Jung believed that during psychological turning points, the unconscious becomes louder, more insistent, more articulate. And this is exactly what you're experiencing. You're not losing interest in people, you're finally able to hear yourself without interruption. Solitude stops feeling like an escape and begins to feel like a return, as if something inside you has been calling you home for a long time and you're only now able to listen. You crave quiet not because you are withdrawing from life, but because your psyche is reorganizing itself, reshaping the inner architecture of who you are. In this period of transition, your sensitivity heightens. You notice things more, feel more, sense undercurrents in conversations, intuit meanings beneath words. You become more reflective, observing your own thoughts with a softness that surprises you. Dreams may sharpen, becoming vivid or symbolic, carrying messages from the hidden chambers of your psyche. Symbols begin to resonate more strongly, showing up in small moments that feel strangely significant. Jung understood this as the unconscious reshuffling itself, preparing the psyche for a new identity to emerge. It is a reconstruction that happens in the dark, like a seed splitting open beneath the soil. And because so much inner work is unfolding beneath your awareness, the external world loses its urgency. The noise out there dims because the voice in here grows stronger. You are not isolating. You are recalibrating. You are stepping out of the distraction of who you were trained to be and into the truth of who you are becoming. This inner gravity pulls you inward because something essential is forming, something that needs stillness and spaciousness to grow. And as this inner life becomes louder, more vibrant, more honest, the old world simply cannot compete with the depth you are beginning to feel rising within you. And as this inner voice grows stronger, you begin to realize that this loss of interest you've been feeling isn't random, and it certainly isn't a flaw. It's a message, quiet, steady, unmistakable, from the deeper layers of your psyche. When everything outside starts to feel dull, distant, or strangely irrelevant, it's not because you're shutting down, it's because something within you is waking up. Jung understood this as the moment when the psyche pulls its energy away from what no longer resonates, not to punish you or isolate you, but to free up the strength needed for the next chapter of your life. It's a redistribution of psychic energy, a silent reorganization happening beneath your awareness. This withdrawal is the psyche's way of saying, you're not meant to stay here anymore. It's the kind of wisdom that doesn't announce itself with big signs or dramatic realizations. It moves gently, subtly, like a tide retreating before a massive wave returns. You start shedding an old version of yourself without even trying. The version built around familiar expectations, unspoken duties, worn-out emotional agreements, and identities that no longer feel true. You may notice certain conversations suddenly feel hollow, certain people feel far away even when they're right beside you, and certain routines feel like costumes you can no longer wear. But what feels like loss is actually clearing. What feels like disconnection is alignment. You're not drifting away from people. You're drifting toward truth, toward a deeper center of gravity that is calling you inward. The psyche is incredibly intelligent. It knows when you're outgrowing your surroundings long before your conscious mind catches up. And when that happens, it doesn't shout. It doesn't force change. It simply stops feeding energy into what is no longer meant for you. Yes, this can feel confusing and at times profoundly lonely because you're standing between who you were and who you're becoming. But beneath that discomfort is a deeper invitation. Step into who you are, now ready to be. You are being prepared, strengthened, rewired, and redirected toward a life that finally matches your inner world. This phase is not an ending, it's a threshold. You are being rewritten from the inside out, and this loss of interest is the first whisper of that rebirth. As you begin to understand what this withdrawal is trying to tell you, the next step is to learn how to move through it with gentleness instead of resistance. This is the moment to stop forcing yourself to show up in spaces that feel draining, to stop apologizing for needing quiet, to stop judging yourself for the pull inward. Allow the withdrawal, honor the solitude, let the silence become a place of healing instead of something you fear. Jung believed the psyche reorganizes itself in stillness, and that the deepest transformations happen without noise, without witnesses, without explanation. So be patient with the emptiness. Listen closely to the voice that's rising within you. It has been waiting years to be heard. Let the old layers fall away without guilt. You are not retreating from life. You are retreating into yourself, so that life can meet you more fully when you return. This phase isn't asking you to act, it's asking you to receive. Let the new identity settle into your bones, let the inner shift deepen, and trust that the clarity you seek will reveal itself when you're ready to carry it. Integration is not a task, it is a soft allowing, a quiet becoming. And as this quiet becoming unfolds, remember this: you're not losing interest in everyone. You're reclaiming the parts of yourself that were scattered across years of trying to belong. What feels like pulling away is actually pulling inward, back to the center of your truth. You are not disappearing. You are emerging, slowly, quietly, powerfully. This phase is temporary, but essential. It is the turning point between who you were and who you're becoming. Trust the silence. Trust the shift. Trust what's taking shape beneath the surface. You are not falling apart. You are being rearranged into something stronger, clearer, and more aligned. And when the time is right, you will return to the world not smaller, but fuller. This is Echoes of Psyche, where the soul finally remembers what the mind forgot.